Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, November 1st from the San Antonio Express News. My name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect sunny skies and a high of 76 degrees in San Antonio today. Texas has passed California as the state with most coronavirus cases, according to Johns Hopkins University. The exact number of cases in each state changes constantly, and in a given moment, California may briefly retake the lead, but the trend line is clear. With Election Day still to come, Texas set a record Friday for the most votes ever cast in an election in the state, and Bexar County was on course to set its own high-water mark. And now let's move on to the top stories for the day. Although Donald Trump trailed far behind Hillary Clinton among Latino voters in Texas in 2016, his supporters predict he will again win the state and do well with Latinos. Surveys show a majority of U.S. Latinos back Joe Biden, though not as strongly as they did Clinton. The difference could prove significant, especially in battleground states such as Texas. I have not seen any disillusionment with Trump. He is strong in the Hispanic communities, said Roy Barrera Jr., a former Bexar County Republican chairman. Barrera pointed to Trump's stances on law enforcement and free enterprise, as well as his religion, as ways the president connects with Latinos. Some Latino voters, however, wonder how this group could support a president who has belittled them. You can read more about how Trump's supporters focus on his confidence at expressnews.com. Days before a bitterly contested national election that has raised fears of violence, federal agents arrested a member of an anti-government extremist group who was captured on video earlier this year telling protesters in San Antonio that they could set a fire to a police station. 21-year-old Cameron Emerson Casey Rankin of San Antonio was in federal custody Friday after FBI agents searched his Northside apartment and found a loaded semi-automatic rifle. Rankin is barred from possessing a firearm because he was committed to a mental institution in 2008 when he was 9 years old, according to a criminal complaint filed in federal court. Brian Chasnoff has the latest details on the case at expressnews.com. A Republican candidate for Chief Justice on the Fourth Court of Appeals is suing a woman who worked for her campaign after she appeared in a secretly recorded video released this week by a conservative activist group. Raquel Rodriguez, who did political jobs for several candidates, was recorded telling an interviewer that she was being paid to collect absentee ballots in Bexar County. The video, released Tuesday by Project Veritas, is the subject of an investigation by the Texas Attorney General's office because it shows Rodriguez apparently discussing unlawful campaign tactics, and at one point shows her helping an elderly woman fill out her absentee ballot. Elizabeth Zavala takes a closer look at the lawsuit in her latest article. From life under the stay-at-home order to the latest developments in testing and treatment, we're covering coronavirus in San Antonio from all angles. You can check out our timeline of events at expressnews.com. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside your Express News subscription. As coronavirus case numbers continue to climb in Bexar County and across much of the country, San Antonio officials reported 191 new cases on Sunday. Bexar County's rolling 7-day case average now stands at 207. Last Sunday's 7-day average was 182 cases. In response to the rising coronavirus case counts, the city is adding additional pop-up testing sites. These 3 new sites are on the west side and south side where spikes have been most prevalent. San Antonians have nearly twice as many choices this year when they sign up for a plan on the Federal Health Insurance Exchange during a 6-week window that started Sunday and runs through December 15th. The Texas Supreme Court on Sunday rejected Republicans' attempt to toss the roughly 127,000 ballots cast at Harris County's drive-through voting locations, though a separate case remained pending before a federal court. We're keeping a live blog of Election Day happenings around the San Antonio and Austin areas, from polling issues to race results. The twists and turns of this strange election year were dissected in a special edition of the Express News Puro Politics podcast. The podcast examined the race between President Donald Trump and Joe Biden, pivotal congressional and legislative contests, and more. You can check out other Express News podcasts at expressnews.com. The Leon Valley City Council is set to take action Monday, the day before the election, to appoint an interim city manager. But the mayor says the issue should be delayed until voters decide the makeup of the council. With turnout at an all-time high in Texas and nationally, young voters, a group historically underrepresented at the ballot box, are showing up in record numbers and keeping pace with, if not outrunning, their elders. If it's possible to be worn out and energized at the same time, that's what's playing out at polling sites, Gilbert Garcia writes. Read his latest column to find out why he says it's been tempting for us to consult 1968 for guidance. Elena Ayala's latest commentary tells the story of Brandon Benavides, a San Antonian who is participating in a 2-year clinical trial for a promising COVID-19 vaccine. Businesses need a functioning administration that addresses the most significant issues of the day, writes Chris Tomlinson. Read his latest column about how the results of the election could be a threat to the economy. Sports columnist Mike Finger writes, quote, "The plan to make voting easier worked, and not just in San Antonio, where the Spurs teamed up with Bexar County to convert the AT&T Center into one of the city's busiest voting sites. Similar setups in Dallas, Houston, and other NBA cities earned rave reviews, as more people voted early in states like Texas than they have ever done before." How does the Express News editorial board feel about the changing of clocks twice a year? We're tired of being cranky or worse just to forestall darkness for a handful of months each year. Let's fall back and just keep it that way. You can read the full article at expressnews.com. This week in history, on November 4th, 1948, Harry S. Truman defeated Thomas Dewey to become the 33rd President of the United States in one of the greatest upsets in presidential politics. Quote, "President Truman led his down-and-out Democratic Party back to political glory Wednesday in an astounding election upset. He won the presidency against odds that looked insurmountable to everyone but him. It was the closest race since the Wilson-Hughes seesaw battle 32 years ago, according to a story by United Press reported on the front page of the San Antonio Express. Since October 13th, early voters have lined up at Bexar County's 48 polling sites, waiting for their turn to express their views at one of more than 500 machines. It took months of planning, testing, and deployment by Operations Coordinator Joe Camacho and his team at the Bexar County Elections Department to get those machines ready for the voters. And there will be another 1,000 machines set up by Camacho's team in the more than 300 polling sites that will open on Tuesday for Election Day. Camacho is one of the elections office workers who toil behind the scenes, working in the warehouse far from the voting lines. You can head over to expressnews.com to read more on this story. The almost parked Tudor that Callie and Thor Tripp bought in March was built in 1929, had a massive extension added in 1959, and underwent an extensive renovation in the 80s. So they knew they had their work cut out for them when they set off on what Thor said was a 6-month, well over $200,000 renovation to both update the place and retain as many of the home's historical elements from the 20s and 50s as possible. Take a look at the renovation results at expressnews.com. San Antonio's best secret discount grocery store is AAA Freight Salvage Groceries. Paul Steven offers you some tips to hunt for grocery and pantry treasures there. Cosa Nostra Pizzeria makes a meat lover's pizza you can't refuse. Check out our 52 weeks of pizza review at expressnews.com. The Reagan duo of Christine Iwala and Samantha Wagner are among the nation's best. ESPN ranks Wagner as the nation's number 4 recruit for the 2023 class. Iawala is number 51 for 2022. When it comes to homecomings, things couldn't have gone much better for San Antonio champion Mario Barrios' Saturday night at the Alamo Dome. And that's all for today. This was your Express briefing for Monday, November 1st. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.